Africa is rising, but behind the scenes, a powerful global institution continues to hold the strings. This is the story of the IMF and its hidden war against African progress. Who really wins and who keeps losing? Let me break it down. The International Monetary Fund, or IMF, was created after World War II, supposedly to stabilize the global economy. But for many African nations, it became something very different. A tool of control, not cooperation. After independence, African countries faced economic instability, and the IMF was ready with loans. But those loans came with harsh conditions, austerity, privatization, and opening markets to foreign companies. This wasn't aid, it was a long-term debt trap. Take Kenya, for example. In 2021, the IMF approved a $2.3 billion loan. In return, Kenya had to increase taxes and reduce public spending, leading to protests over fuel prices and job losses. In Zimbabwe, IMF-backed reforms in the 1990s led to the collapse of local industries, pushing the country deeper into poverty. So who actually makes the rules? The IMF is not an African institution. It's controlled by wealthy Western nations. The US alone holds over 16% of the voting power. Africa, just over 6%, divided among more than 50 countries. That means Africa doesn't get to decide, it only follows. The IMF operates on a weighted voting system. That means the more money a country puts in, the more power it has. The US, Europe, and Japan hold the most votes, and they shape the policies. In many cases, IMF recommendations reflect Western interests, not African realities. But some leaders have pushed back. Thomas Sankara of Burkina Faso once said, "The debt cannot be repaid because if we don't pay, our creditors won't die. But if we do, we will." Muammar Gaddafi also rejected IMF control, and we all saw what happened to him. The sad reality: when the IMF demands austerity, it means cutting health, education, and food subsidies. Hospitals close, teachers go unpaid, food prices rise. Now, the rich get richer, the poor suffer more. Take Ghana and Zambia. Ghana recently returned to the IMF in a crisis, again. Zambia had to sell off national resources and restructure debts, not in favor of people, but of lenders. This cycle repeats again and again. But now, a new generation is fighting back. Leaders like Captain Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, President Assimi Goïta of Mali, and President Bassirou Diomaye Faye of Senegal are calling for sovereignty over economics. They're choosing partnerships on Africa's terms, not under IMF pressure. And it's not just politicians. Across the continent, young Africans are waking up. They ask, why are we still poor while our gold, oil, and diamonds leave the country? Why should foreign bankers decide our future? This isn't new. After colonial powers left, they replaced armies with economic weapons, like debt, aid, and trade rules. Instead of chains, they used contracts. Instead of soldiers, they sent economists. They're demanding local solutions, not foreign domination. In Nigeria, youth-led movements like NSARS have shown that the younger generation is ready to challenge systems of exploitation. In South Africa, activists protest foreign mining companies that strip the land while locals remain unemployed. Africa has the power to build its own financial institutions. The African Development Bank, the BRICS Alliance, ECOWAS currency talks, these are just the beginning. But real change needs unity, not just among leaders, but the people. So the question isn't just Africa versus the IMF. Imagine African nations trading in a common currency, building infrastructure with local companies, educating youth for innovation, not exploitation. That future is possible if Africa owns its voice, its resources, and its path forward. It's who controls Africa's destiny. The answer has to be Africans. Only through unity, sovereignty, and courage can Africa rise, not in debt, but in dignity. And we must ask ourselves, what kind of future do we want? One where Africa continues to borrow, beg, and bleed for survival. Or one where we build, invest, and thrive on our own terms. We don't need handouts. We need hands together. Not pity, but power. Not debt, but dignity. From Cairo to Cape Town, Lagos to Dakar, the dream is the same. A free, self-reliant Africa. Not tomorrow, not one day, but now. Africa doesn't need saving. It needs sovereignty. And that sovereignty starts with us. If you believe in African freedom, share this video, like, subscribe, and let's build a future without chains. The chains may be invisible, but together we can break them.